So Aaron put on his detective cap and he looked at Anna Lee Waters' followers on Instagram and X. We looked at Lee Waters' followers on Instagram and on X. Because, you know, Lee is probably moving the deals. Franklin just got a new paddle approved. It's the same shape as the ALWC.
We have 3 paddles that have come out that are not your typical raw carbon fiber. This is a surface roughness tester. I measured them all stock. I got all the measurements with the roughness tester. And then I grabbed a ball and I just rubbed it on the spot for 45 seconds. Looking at the results, number 1 was Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pickleball Effect podcast. We're done with the break. It's 2026. We're rolling. I'm a bit nervous, Aaron. I haven't been in the hot seat in a minute, and I'm feeling the jitters today.
I feel equally nervous. I flipped the camera in the room and put lights everywhere and new recording setup and new hardware and new software. And so I think there's 10 more things that could break. But I'm trying. I'm excited. New year. Good to see you. I haven't seen you for a month, it seems. Yeah. How are you? How was your break?
Dude, it was good. It went by quick. I was traveling the last week and a half with fam and was off the phone a lot. But it was really healthy. But I'm happy to be back. There's always a little itch to get back to work, so you have to push that aside. But happy to be here. You know, so before we hopped on this pod, Aaron and I had planned to do this at 6 p.m. But he texted me, and he's like, "Brayden, I need another hour. I'm setting this up. I got to get my audio right." Aaron's feeling the jitters. It's confirmed. He's been
a little bit, and also there has been so much paddle news or just pickleball news in general every day, and so I honestly wanted to just wait a little bit longer to see if any news dropped that we could break it.
Give it 1 hour.
I think it's still the same, so there's nothing new. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by it's Sunday now. By the time this comes out Tuesday, if something is new that we didn't get to cover, so it's been crazy.
It's happened before where we bring up something that has like a cliffhanger, and then it gets resolved before we publish. We're going to talk about some pros moving around, and there's a couple that haven't picked their final new paddle sponsor, and these are like big deals. And you just know that one of them is going to announce it before we say anything, and we're just going to.
I bet they're waiting for the podcast. They're waiting for the podcast to come out on Tuesday so they can one up us. It's not has nothing to do with their schedule, what they're doing. They're waiting on us, and so
that confirms it. Well, man, this is going to be a good episode. I'm excited for what we got written down here. Before we jump into our topics, I do want to address a change we made to the pod. So going into this year, I decided to bring Aaron on as the full-time co-host. I know a lot of you guys really enjoyed Kyle. I did too. I'm really proud of what we built together over the last year and a half. That said, though this was a very thoughtful and difficult decision for me to make, but as I looked to the future of Pickleball Effect, it made sense to bring Aaron on full time, and Aaron will be missed, or not Aaron. Kyle will be missed. Maybe Aaron will be missed soon too. I don't know. Who knows?
Say what the people are thinking, Brayden. Just say it.
Yeah. But no, it was a tough decision. It was really hard. You know, Kyle's my friend, and I know he's gonna do well on his own here, but he'll be missed. But I'm also confident in my decision, and I'm looking forward to what you and I are gonna do together, and to build off that platform that he and I have built. So welcome to the podcast, Aaron. Here we go.
Thank you. I guess a couple things. In 2025, I think it's my significant other, the person I text the most, and then Brayden. And so there has been so much work that we've done last year, I would say behind the scenes, that I think this opportunity of me coming on the pod full time will be able to kind of merge what we're doing, what we're always working on together, and kind of give some more visibility into that. And the second thing I would say is I get that I'm a new co-host, and some people might be excited for that change and some people might not. But I just ask that you give myself and 2026 a chance. There's a million amazing pickleball podcasts out there. And so if you watch a few episodes and you're like, man, Aaron stinks, this guy stinks, go watch something else. No harm, no foul. But I just ask for a chance of your attention. And I hope I can earn your audience. But again, Brayden and I have been working so close this last year. I'm really, really excited about this. And 2026 feels like the year of Pickleball Effect, the year change. And I'm really excited to see where it goes. So thank you.
Yeah, we got a lot on the table. I'm pretty pumped. Our first content trip we're going to do together is planned out in February. I'm going to come down to Arizona. We're going to do a PPA event together, and then do some. There's a lot of pickleball in Arizona where you are. Like it is,
Yeah.
it is a hot spot where you are. And so we'll learn all about that as we go along here. But yeah, that was a good note. I appreciate that. But today's pod's a good way to start off because we got some really fun stuff. We're going to stick with a similar format to what we've done in the past. We're going to do some changes and it'll evolve as time goes on. We're going to stick with, a little bit of that weekly update, telling people what we're working on, what's coming up next. And then we're taking out 3 out of 5-0 and we're putting in a new section here. I'm calling it under review. And this will be, it'll kind of go in and out. Like things this will be a moving target. It might be guests. We might have people on for a few minutes to answer some big questions going on in the market. It might be a deep dive into some sort of, tech or test that I did. It could be a number of things. So that one will be evolving. We're calling that one under review. Then we have airing it out. It's just such a good name. You can't not call it airing it out. Tell us what we're going to do there.
Yeah, airing it out is gonna be headlines, debates, pro scene, lifestyle, anything and everything that's happening in pickleball. We're gonna bring into airing it out. And so, a little forecasting on this week on airing it out. We have a Uno shuffle deck of pros hopping around. Like if you were to go to sleep for 2 weeks and wake up and you were gonna watch where all the pros, they're everywhere. Everyone has switched. No one is where they were. And so airing it out this week's going to be very pro scene heavy. We're going to be talking about all the flips, all the drama. And the biggest question, where is Anna Leigh Waters signing? Because it could be Pickleball Effect. We don't know.
It's going to change some brand's outlook in the future. She's. Do you think there will ever be a bigger deal than this one or a bigger move? I have a hard time picturing it.
No, at least not for a really long time. Or I guess until she leaves this next one.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, she's at the tippity top of her game.
Yeah.
She is at peak value. This is going to be a fun one. And then we're going to keep Paddle, Babble, and gear, of course. For this episode, we're catching up. There was a lot of paddles that came in December. Last year when we took December off, it was a little lighter on the paddles. This year was not the case. So we have some paddles we're going to catch up here. We got the Volair shifts. We're going to talk Spartus P1, GRUVN lasers, some duos, and then you're going to give us some first impressions on corals, and then we're going to talk Blue Maca insoles, which I'm actually really pumped about. I know you have a different take on this, so that'll be kind of a fun debate. But let's and then for under review, I guess just as far as kind of what we're talking about today, under review, I did like a grit durability test. So grit is the thing this year. I got to figure out a way to verify claims and to compare and rank different durabilities or grit durabilities. I've done an early test. This is not going to be my final test. This is going to evolve and change, but I do have some results of an early test of what I've done. I'll explain that there, but grit is the thing this year and gotta get ahead of that. So just starting with the weekly update, just video stuff. We're going to start, kicking out here soon. First video is going to be a shoe. We're going to do a shoe video. We got a little comparison thing, a 6-month outsole warranty shoe video that we did. This will be the first of, I'm hoping, like a handful that we do there this year. Shoes have been something I've been learning about and getting nerdy about and excited for, because I think shoes and paddles are the two most important things that gear that you have. And no one's really tackled shoes to like a significant degree, and I'm hoping we can get it on top of that and give you guys some good resources there. Next paddle review, we're gonna do Spartus. I think their grit is legit, as you'll see here in a minute. And then I want to do a duo review. I think the enhanced duo is a good paddle. I don't think it's getting as enough attention as it deserves, and we're gonna do that. And but yeah, that's kind of it there. Lots of other stuff in the works that we'll bring up as we go. But that's everything I got for weekly update. You got anything else there?
I just got to say on shoe review, I think this is definitely a category of content that people want to see more of. I know there's a few people who have done some one-off shoe reviews. Obviously, Zach the Foot Doctor, who's a tennis player. Guys, he's a tennis player. We're listening to him about pickleball. I get that he's doing pickleball videos, but he's flirting with the enemy. And so we need dedicated pickleball-only shoe reviews. And then I think the second thing about the shoe reviews that I'm really excited is that you're only focusing on 6-month tread warranties. I think if you're playing as much pickleball as any of us, you really only need to buy shoes with tread warranties. I have never not, unless I'm rotating shoes, if I'm wearing one pair of shoes consistently, I will always get the tread done before 6 months. And so I think it's worth paying the premium but to potentially get a second shoe. And so I really like that you're diving deep into those shoes, because unless you're getting a shoe without a tread warranty for half the price, you could say, it's definitely worth always going towards a warranty. So that'll be a really cool video. Plus we shot that one in person in Boise, and so that will feel a little bit different than sometimes kind of the remote setup that we do for videos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be a good one to dip our toes in, and more and more brands are investing in shoes now. We had Franklin with shoes. We have Selkirk that's getting into shoes. You have some shoe first brands that are coming out with pickleball shoes, and so that space is growing. And I think for someone to come in, understand shoes, look at everything through that pickleball lens, because pickleball is different from tennis, right? Like there's obviously similarities, but the movements are different, the demands are different. People play a lot of pickleball. You know, comfort, durability is a big thing, and so we're gonna be considering all that stuff. Sorry for my voice, you guys. I'm on day 4 of some sort of virus. I'm on the mend, but the voice sounds worse than I feel. But I took some cough medicine, hoping that I'm not just gonna hack my way through this whole thing. Got my Owala. I'm hoping this will keep me sustained.
Well, I think that like half the people who are watching are probably sick, and so you're doing the pod. So I appreciate you pushing through. I haven't gotten sick yet, but I feel like everyone and their mother got sick. This I'm getting on these TikToks for influenza A through Z are just sweeping through the country, and so it's flu season. It's like the deep dark months of January. Christmas is over. Like you got to trudge through, and so
all the families were together. They all got sick together, and now they're going home and spreading it to everyone else.
Yep, holiday cheers gone.
Did you do anything? You did some little bit of the traveling, right?
Yeah, I went to LA, went to Universal Studios on the busiest day of the year. And so I highly recommend the 26th, the day after Christmas.
That's the busiest day?
Yes. I mean, you could pull up the data, but I'm telling you, this was like shoulder to shoulder outside in like, there was probably like 50,000 people there. It was ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
It was great to go. The weather was awesome, but don't go on a day like that. I didn't plan this event. I'm not going to blast my family members, but this was a poorly designed day event to go. But again, always good to go out to
California. Not going to blast
Didn't get to play any pickleball,
but I'm going to blast
but I will. I will, yeah. Shout out to my brother for the poorly planned. He doesn't want kids, doesn't matter. But yeah, I just got out of Phoenix for a little bit. The weather's great here in Phoenix and in LA. Got some rain, but good to get out there and see some family and do some fun things like that.
Did you do Harry Potter World? Is that Universal?
Yeah, it's at Universal. Yeah, that's super cool. That's probably my favorite part. We ate at the Three Broomsticks.
Yeah,
had some
classic.
fish and chips. Said what's up to Harry, Ron, the whole crew. They were there.
How are they doing?
Dude, Harry has got up to a 4.5.
Has he?
Yeah, Ron's still a 3.5. Dumbledore's classic 6.0 plus. Dude is wicked on the court. I think he's using like spells for dip. You know, like grit's not a thing, right? Said what's up to the crew. Played some mixed doubles. That was a good time. Yeah, but yeah, Harry Potter World's the best. Like, where else you go? Also, they also had Super Mario World, which was pretty cool. I think if I was a kid, I would like that the most. It was super immersive, right? They have all these like giant, what are they called? Krupas? Whatever. I don't know. But that was cool. But
mushroom,
all of it,
dudes.
right? The giant piranha thing. But yeah, you're going for Harry Potter World if you're over 25.
Yeah, I watched the Harry Potter movie today. Actually, we're still. I'm trying to slowly get my girls invested.
Which one?
Into
number one?
We just watched the. This obviously shows how good I am. The one with the competition. I think it's the 4th.
The Tri-Wizard Tournament?
Yeah, I think it's 4.
It's actually one of my favorite ones. I think that's 4. I think Azkaban is 3. There's going to be some Harry Potter truthers that are going to come first.
Yeah, they're going to come. They're like,
how dare you just go out of order? You got to start with 1. If you're going to like introduce your family to this, just go through.
We just struck out right there for sure.
All right.
All right, let's go to the first segment. So this is under review. Today we're going to talk about that grit durability test that I've been tinkering around with, starting to hone in. I got some early results. Let's talk about those. So landscape for grit right now. We have 3 paddles that have come out that are not your typical raw carbon fiber. Raw carbon fiber has just dominated, right? It's been the go-to surface for the last several years. It works great out of the box, but only lasts, peak performance for a month, and then it just goes out from there. And so this is kind of the last frontier for paddle innovation. Like, we're going to see changes to the cores. We're going to see new fun things happen with foam because you can get creative there. But grit is the last kind of unsolved thing.
Yeah.
For paddles now that foam cores are here. And so that is what we're going to see all this year. the three that have launched first are the very first was the Selkirk Infinigrit, and then we had the Coral, or just the Diamond Tough from 6.0
Right.
that's launched. That's been on their last three models that kind of all went out at the same time. And then the next one is the Permagrit here from Spartus. This is launching and will be available this month. This is their P1, which is a full foam. I mean, that full foam combo with the grit, assuming these grits are legit, is what we want, right? As the consumer, we want the durability, and it's finally here. It's coming. It's being led by these big brands with some innovation budgets. You know, Spartus, I wouldn't consider is a big brand, but they're coming in with a good innovation here. You have others like Chorus is a brand that's a little on the smaller side that I know is coming out with a grit.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have 11624 that's coming out with a more durable grit. So there's more in the future. These are the three that I have. And so these are the ones I ran the test on. Here's what I did. I went and bought one of these bad boys. This is a surface roughness tester. Came in this sweet James Bond case.
Yeah, it's like a boomstick case.
Yeah, that's exactly the little mini boomstick. So the way grit is still being tested by USAP and UPAA, though it's not like the deciding factor. They do the spin test, and then they do the grit test. At currently USPA, is that what it is? Am I saying that right?
USAP?
USAP, thank you. They you still have to meet their grit requirements. For UPAA, it's just spin. Spin is the only thing that matters. And so you can get heavier grit sometimes for UPA certified paddles versus USAP. Yeah. And that's been a little bit of a controversy. We'll maybe we're actually going to tackle a little bit later because it comes up with a thing in your section. But anyways, I got this surface roughness tester. This is what it looks like. You plug in this little needle here, and it's a stylus that when you set on the paddle, it just goes across about 1/4 of an inch, and it measures the peaks and valleys of the grit. It just tells you how, like the average grit level, and then what the tallest peaks and the lowest valleys are. And it just gives you, this is like the only way I can think of as a way to measure grit without having to go hit a paddle a billion times and then retest spin over and over. I guess I haven't explained my test yet, so you don't know what I'm trying to explain. Got a little brain fog here. Brain fog. This is great. I'm really killing it right now. So what I did was I took these three grits and I grabbed a ball, or I measured them all stock. I got all the measurements with the roughness tester, and then I grabbed a ball and I just rubbed it on the spot for 45 seconds, cleaned it off, retested the grit, rubbed a ball on it for 45 seconds again. I did this 3 times, and then just to see what the difference was from the brand new numbers versus those 3 sessions of just wearing it down. So a couple things I discovered as I was doing this is that the numbers you get are actually a bit tricky. It's not super consistent. So like I can put it in one spot and then move it just a hair, remeasure, and get different numbers. And so it's very dependent on where you know, the stylus is rubbing across on the numbers
right.
Which you get. So initially I was just doing one measurement until I figured out that that's not going to be good enough. So I ended up doing 6 measurements and then averaging them out to get the best results. And so I did that for all 3 of these paddles, and I did it for 3 raw carbon fibers to give us some context. Nice. So I did an RPM, an 11624 all court, and then an old Vanguard control from Selkirk. So those are all raw carbon fiber grits for comparing to these new ones. And so after going through that process, I just took the beginning average value and the ending average value and just subtracted it to give us the point difference. So say a measurement came in at 40 RZ, which is the measurement for the average peak and valleys. At the end, if it finished at 37, then it would just be like a 3-point drop. It's just what I'm doing now. I don't have like a great sense of, this much drop equates this much spin loss. I'm gonna have to do some more, testing and configuration around that. Like maybe a 3-point loss isn't a big deal, right. But it's a 10-point that is a big deal. Or right. how many times do I have to rub it for 45 seconds to get like a significant spin loss. That'll come with time as I keep doing these tests. But for the purpose of this initial test was, are these better than the raw carbon fibers? So looking at the results, number one, just ranked 1 through 6, number one had the least reduction in spin. Number one was the Spartus Permagrit. It only went down 1 point. So I'm not going to say the actual values right now because I don't want people to think that I'm, like these are too gritty or not gritty enough. My purpose isn't to say, oh, these are legal or not legal. It's just grit durability, right? So number one was Permagrit. It only went down 1 point. Next was the 6-0 Coral. This one went down 2.2 points. Next was the RPM Friction Pro, actually. That one went down 3 points. Selkirk and Finagrit was just neck and neck with the RPM. And then we had a bigger drop from the RPM and Selkirk to the Vanguard Control and the 11624. So these two both had just about 5-point drops.
Interesting.
And so there's a bigger drop off there. But the Spartus like significantly was better than these other ones. Like it was quite a bit. And so the raw carbon fiber isn't all the same. Like these two were pretty weak on the Selkirk and 11624. It's kind of what you'd expect, I guess, is the quick loss of grit there. But the RPM stayed pretty strong. And I did it twice on this one just to double check, because I was expecting it to be the same as these others, but it wasn't. It was just as strong as the Infinigrit from this little test. If I kept going, maybe the Infinigrit stays stronger than this one, but from this small little sample size of just doing that 3 times, it was neck and neck with the Infinigrit, but the 6-0 and the Spartus came in at 1 and 2 there. But this just confirms that yes, these new grits are better than I think your typical, your average raw carbon fiber that we're seeing from this Vanguard Control and the 11624. I don't want to like knock on those brands because I don't think they're doing anything wrong. I just think that those are very common like numbers that we would see across the board for raw carbon fiber grit styles like that. But yeah, it's fun to see that these are better, and the preliminary results are putting the Spartus in the lead. Any, I don't know, what'd you think of that? Any takes?
So for the 11624, it was the Jelly Bean or a Power. Which model was it?
It was the All-Court.
It was the All-Court. Yeah, I think the biggest thing which is tough for reviewers is not all peel plies are the same, right? Styled on how they're doing it. We could have 10 carbon fiber paddles with 10 different brands and 10 different styles of coarse peel ply, fine peel ply. We don't know about how the grades of these epoxies, and so there's a million variables that could make it challenging. I think I was anticipating that Selkirk potentially coming in last because it was older, and so I'm thinking maybe over the years they've refined the peel ply they're using. Maybe they're started using a more durable epoxy when they're taking off the peel ply cloth. So for it to tie with the 11624 All-Court is a little bit surprising. And I don't think I would have guessed that the RPM would have done better than those two. I would think they would be closer just considering it's peel ply. But then is the RPM feel noticeably grittier if you do a little touch test right now?
If you do the finger test, it does feel stronger than the 11624 in Selkirk. The 11624 had kind of the most noticeable visible change. I don't know if you can see where I was rubbing down here in the corner.
Yeah, there's some deep scuffing.
Yeah, and so that one was the most noticeable as far as like the visible changes to it. But yeah, the RPM, let's see if I can find the spot. This was the spot here that I was rubbing in it. It looks the same as these others.
Nice.
And
then I bet that Spartus you couldn't see at all, because what I'm noticing with the Spartus, this thing is not collecting ball dust. How's yours look? Are you having a similar experience?
It gets a little ball dust, but it's not the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm noticing, at least so far, much less ball dust, and so that's also interesting that it came in first as far as its durability. That's really interesting. Yeah, I think it's just tough because there's so much variance, and just because we're saying, hey, this is a carbon fiber peel ply texture, there's still so many variables, and so for it to say it's better or worse, it's kind of case by case, and even model by model, right? Maybe the 11624 Power has a more coarse peel ply. Some say coarser peel plies that feel grittier, they have larger peaks and valleys, and so that can wear off faster. And so sometimes finer peel plies could outperform on spin. So it's really difficult, I think, to analyze the why. But I think the more paddles you can do, the more you can take a consensus. And 3 out of, you said 5 paddles today were in the bottom 3. I think that, leads to saying, hey, some of these new grit textures are potentially more durable, considering Spartus #1 with permagrit. What's the grit for 6-0? Our Diamond Tuft
Diamond
number 2, and then Infinigrit number 3. And we've even also heard that Infinigrit has been evolving from when we got the 007 to when they put it on the boomstick. It was the Infinigrit V2, and so they're refining their recipe as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, and to your point, it's gonna fill in like as we keep testing more, and as my test evolves, we'll get more and more knowledge. But yeah, it's a great point. Like you have to be aware of all those factors, because there's a lot that goes into it, and not all peel plies are the same. And I'm gonna just start doing this as we come, as each paddle comes through the door, to get a better idea of it. But I mean, you can still have success with this peel ply. I mean, RPM, whatever they're doing, I don't know how they're doing it differently, but whatever it is, it seems to be working. And my spin numbers, at least stock, were actually the strongest with the RPM versus the others.
Interesting.
The Spartus gets good spin numbers. The Coral is just under the Spartus. The Infinigrit comes in a little bit lower than the Diamond Tough. But so that was kind of an interesting factor.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a cool nod to them. Maybe peel ply isn't totally dead. If this is working, I think for future, as I evolve this test, what my next step is I'm working with my father-in-law to develop a sort of look-alike to the test that we saw at Selkirk, where they have the little sandpaper thing that runs on it. So that he's a super smart dude and makes his own tools and does all this metal work and does really cool things. So he's going to help me develop, or he's going to help me make a rig that will apply the same amount of pressure and the same amount of like time and rotations of sandpaper in a specific spot. That way it'll wear down evenly. It'll be more controlled versus me just rubbing a ball on it for 45 seconds. Because even when you rub a ball on it, I'm not affecting the entire area the same. Some spots might get hit worse or less than others. And so it's not the best test. Obviously we're not a lab and we're not going to just make this incredible thing, but we do want to control what we can. And I think that's something that I can control better. And so I'm working with him to get the V2 of this test running. And I also bit the bullet and bought the fancy roughness tester that USAP and stuff are using. This one I have now works, but I was just like, you know what, this is a big deal. I want to get this right. And so I ended up getting that super fancy one, and that'll hopefully pay off itself down the road. And I'm going to return this one, though this one still worked well. But this is the stuff we're going to keep getting into. And this is going to be a fun area because I'm really excited about this next step for paddles.
Over months and months, each reviewer is slowly inching towards becoming their own paddle approval agency. And so maybe here, it's either USAP, UPA, or the reviewer, partner with Q, make one new agency because, you guys are all acquiring the same home tools and all doing different tests. And so, again, I think just zooming out, like while this might not be the most scientific test, it's like, we're YouTubers and we're curious. And so props to you for diving in and saying, hey, we got new textures and we're curious about learning some of the benefits. And of course, companies are going to come out and market these as improvements. They're never going to come out with a new paddle and say, this one might be worse and we're okay with that, but you should buy it anyways. Right. And so props to you for diving in and developing some new tests, because that's only going to be more information and more valuable for consumers. One
other, I guess, kind of cool tidbit that I noticed is when you're measuring the grit on the Infinigrit and the Permagrit. So when you measure it this way, I measured it in two directions. I measured it this way and then vertically. When I do that on the Infinigrit and this one, you get about the same numbers, RZ and RT numbers in both directions. However, with these raw carbon fibers, you're getting a much bigger number this way, going like against the grain than you do vertically. And the numbers are lower vertically. And it makes sense. Like when you look at the grit of raw carbon fiber or peel plies, it's very directional, right? Like everything's pointing up.
Sure.
So I wonder if there's a performance advantage to having grit that's multi-directional like that. Maybe you don't put a perfect swing on it and you're not just that you're not using that directional grit, and maybe you're hitting it at an angle or something. And if you can get more spin in those situations, because the peaks and valleys are showing up in multiple directions versus a unidirectional raw carbon peel ply style. So that's another thing I need to kind of start paying attention to.
That's an interesting call out. And because historically, I remember Pro XR came out, like one of the ways they were skirting around USAP's test was putting it more on the horizontal axis, more grit, because when you're swinging, the paddle is going to be in that same axis.
Yeah.
And so you were putting more grit in that manner versus it being even out. I wonder if there's a way to do that, a similar test or a similar style, but maybe it doesn't matter if some of these new grits are UPA only. Yeah, that is an interesting call out, but that they're more even. Because theoretically, I don't know how these new grits are applied, but could you do the same approach and put them one grit more in one axis versus the other?
I don't know. We'll have to pay attention to it. The directional seems to be a peel ply thing, and even the 6-0s is like, it's a more durable grit, but because it's a peel ply method with diamonds in it, it's still directional. But however it's applied with the Infinigrit and the Permagrit, which are both done in the US, they don't do that in China to protect their IP there. It almost looks like a spray on grit. Like, it's kind of bubbly. It's not particularly uniform. It's just kind of all just pushed on there.
Yep.
But yeah, that's something to pay attention to.
All right, let's jump into airing it out. Okay, this week in airing it out, we have tons and tons of news. We've taken a month off pickleball. The whole landscape has changed. Pros are at different spots. People have signed with brands that we never thought would have. Some of the biggest names are up for contract renewal. Where will they go? And so the biggest one, let's jump into this headline first. I was scrolling through social media one day, and all of a sudden, I see a post from 11/6/24. Okay, cool new video. And it's Deckel Bar. 11/6/24 goes into the pro scene, enters the world of UPA, and signs Deckel Bar. What's your reaction to that? Because I was stoked.
I mean, I'm really excited for them. There's something about signing a pro that adds some legitimacy to your brand that you just can't get another way. And I was really happy for them. I was pumped for them. It'll be fun to see if this can move the needle and change things for them. But yeah, it kind of elevates the brand to a certain degree.
Absolutely.
And you're just like, okay, these guys aren't, these guys are players now, right? Like, they just signed their first pro. Let's see how this goes. And it's a big deal. And I'm really happy for them.
I think it's a perfect fit. Deckel's like a high character, good culture guy, and he's had some like really great performances in 2025. I remember when I went to Mesa PPA, Anna Brighton Deckel Bar beat Anna Lee and Ben Johns. It was one of the first times Ben and Anna had lost mix that year, or I think in multiple years. And so I think Deckel's a perfect signing. And two, you're right, it absolutely solidifies 11/6/24 not as a consumer brand, enthusiast brand, someone like we feel very involved with in the community. But they're saying, hey, like the evolution of our pickleball brand is UPA. And with that, they're launching a new paddle series that, is set to come out in February. Deckel is going to be using this new paddle series. And also, I think Deckel is confirmed to be using a hybrid. So this is a big shift.
Yeah. I mean, how many pros are using hybrids? You really don't have many. So this was kind of fun to see him. I mean, this guy has been using elongated for 10 years, right? And so we asked the owner, we wanted to make sure, like, is he really using the Vapor? And he confirmed, yeah, he's using the Vapor for now. He's going to test other models. I don't know if the Vapor is the only one that's available at the moment, because he made it sound like he's still going to put in some time with some other shapes. But for the moment, it's going to be the Vapor.
So let's run through a few of these questions that Braden, you asked 11/6/24 about this new paddle. So we're looking at a price point of around $210. It's the 11/6/24's first foam paddle. It's going to be a power paddle, but from what we're hearing, rumors is it's not going to be top end power. So don't think boomstick, don't think opal. I think it's going to be right in that mid-tier power level. They said a little bit more than the Alpha Pro power. And so you have the 11/6/24 power, Alpha Pro power, pretty similar on that pop power scale. And then it looks like this new foam paddle is coming out a little bit higher, but hopefully lands in that mid-tier. It's also coming out with Hex Grit, which is their newest grit durability texture again. And so this will be the 4th or 5th entrance on new facing grit textures. So really excited to compare potentially a new process. I know there's a lot of anticipation about its durability being the best, but again, we'll have to run it through the tests. And then the paddle lines, there's going to be some shifts for 11.624 as well. So they're doing away, or not doing away, but they're transitioning to 2-paddle model with this new foam power being their primary paddle for power, and then still keeping the jelly bean at that affordable price point. So shifting to 2, and I believe they're going to be slowly phasing out some of these older models as they shift to an entry-level jelly bean control paddle, and then this new pro-level power paddle. And then also the big thing is they are releasing this paddle with UPAA approval, and so they're not working with USAP only approval. And so for your spin junkies, combine new spin texture with unlocked feeling. Like this thing could be nice. And so it's
tactilely nice.
But it's a big deal. I mean, this is one of the like a paddle company's just choosing UPAA, right, to go forward and not doing dual stamp launches. What do you feel like that means for like a brand to only start choosing UPAA?
Yeah, this is the first brand, I think, that outside of Yola that has intentionally said, hey, we're just going to do UPAA only on this one. And you know, this is kind of a fun topic to think about. We did ask him what his take was and what his reasoning was, and it was just a fact of it was easier to work with UPAA over USAP. USAP, he was like, I send them emails, I don't get responses, I can just pick up the phone and call UPAA and they'll answer my questions and work with me. And so there's that side of things, which sounds like is a big driver for him going this direction versus performance, or like he thinks they're the better testing company or something. But he obviously doesn't feel like it's going to hurt their sales or going to stop people from buying it because it's not USAP approved. The only drawback here potentially is you sign up for a tournament that doesn't allow for UPAA paddles. But I haven't played in a tournament yet that says, oh, can't use UPAA. At least locally, UPAA is accepted. It's just kind of both. You use both. And then I play in PPA events. I don't really play in many tournaments outside of my local club and PPA. So I don't personally have a great sense of, oh man, there's so many tournaments that this is going to knock you out of. Maybe for those listening, like, are you signing up for tournaments that are explicitly USAP only, and this will hinder your decision? I would love to hear others' perspectives on this, because I feel like mine is a little too narrowed to have a full understanding of that. But yeah, that's the risk they're taking, is potentially blocking out a set of people who are heavy, tournament goers, events that are like a big part of the market, who, repeatedly buy paddles, these enthusiasts, these heavy users. And so is it gonna hurt or help there? That's kind of up in the air, and I'm not really sure. What do you think?
No, I mean, a lot of tournaments in Phoenix, the majority of them allow UPAA paddles. And so it's kind of like, I would think, safe to do, because I know with people who are playing qualifiers who often main USAP approved paddles, they need to switch to a UPAA only paddle to play qualifiers. And so you'll see, like a 5.0 plus person have maybe their USAP paddle that they main, and then their UPAA paddle if they main. And so if most tournaments, at least in Phoenix, are allowing UPAA paddles, then it makes more sense to just have a UPAA paddle that you can play both in. But then also, there's not a lot of UPAA paddles that you can buy. Yola came out with the Pro 4, but they didn't sell the UPAA version to consumers. Remember, they delayed, and then they did the dual stamp 3S. Mm-hmm. But these, like, they never allowed like UPAA models out into the public. And so this is one of the first, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, UPAA approved paddles that will be sold to consumers. Do you know of any paddles that are UPAA only and not dual stamped that are sold to enthusiasts?
Not that comes to mind.
I mean, so that's a big deal, because there's a lot of times people are disappointed that you're not getting the grit you want. You're buying lower levels of grit because they have to meet USAP's standards. And so I have held in my hand UPA paddles versus USAP. They are noticeably different. Again, I don't have some of the spin numbers, but if I was buying a paddle, I would definitely want the grittier one. And so if as long as it is approved for your tournament play that you participate in your state, and let us know, I would absolutely prefer to buy a UPA paddle outside of all of the drama between the two approval agencies.
And I would be very surprised if there's clubs now that don't accept UPA for whatever reason. Like they don't care. They just want you to be there playing.
Yeah, exactly. What's their
incentive? If you have an
incentive?
approved paddle, like they don't care. Like they just want you, paying your rent. And so I really don't think it's going to hurt them. And if this shakes out well for them, this hurts USAP because other brands are going to be like, look, I'm going to put grittier paddles. It's not going to hurt my sales, or I'm going to make grittier paddles. It's not going to hurt my sales. They're easier to work with, at least at the moment, while they're not flooded by everybody. Because USAP is just so flooded. They have so much demand that they haven't been able to scale their processes, and UPA is been more selective, and they have some advantages there. And we'll see if they're going to be able to scale with demand. But in the current market and situation, if they're easier to work with, and I've heard tons of stories from brands saying it has been such a pain in the butt to get my paddles approved. I'm trying to
paying expedited
fees,
it's not
but
being
it's
expedited.
Not working. They won't let me expedite it. I have to wait
Yep.
months to get my paddle out. Like that is a killer.
It sounds like
to
the
a brand.
DMV of paddle approvals.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you have your paddle ready and you have to wait 2-3 months to get it approved, that just destroys you. And especially if it comes back failed. Yeah. I mean, time 2-3 months in this paddle market is eternity. It can make or break a brand.
The last note on this is why I think this is significant is that it's not a big dog yielding to UPA. So obviously Selkirk has been pretty anti-UPA historically. Yola, but pretty pro-UPA. But there's not a lot of these mid-tier brands, maybe 6-0. They've been kind of caught in the crossfire. Do we want to pay some of like these marketing fees? Do we want to sign pros? They've dropped some of their lineup. They've reduced with Ford and Xiaomi. But this is like 11624, a mid-size brand, maybe small before, mid-size now, saying, hey, we are choosing to invest in the UPA. We're signing a pro. We are paying these high-level fees. We are certifying our paddle UPAA only. Like, there's not a lot of brands that have chosen this direction, and I do anticipate these paddles to play well, receive a lot of buzz. And so I think this is like a big deal, not just for 11624, but for non-large brands like Yola saying, hey, we are moving forward into 2026 with UPAA. Like that's a big statement.
Yeah, big time. I mean, it's cool on them to make that step, make the initiative. I think a lot of those, people in a similar situation as 11624 are kind of waiting to see how it plays out, which direction they want to invest and go. And 11624 says, no, like, I'm gonna take fate in my own hands here, and we're gonna go this route. And my gut says it's gonna work.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's 11624. Let's move to the big one.
I guess it should be noted before you jump in here that they are going to do a small USAP run of 1,500 paddles once that gets sorted out.
That's so small.
Yeah. And so I think they said it was just going to be a one-time, like, satisfy those people. And then, and it's just going to be the appeal ply version. It's not going to be their hexagret. So there's a lot of, disincentives to go that route.
Yeah, absolutely. No one is going to want to buy a paddle that has less durable spin for probably a similar price or maybe a slightly cheaper. Yeah. But yeah, it'll be curious to see how that shakes out. We good to jump into Anna Lee?
Yeah. Go.
Okay, so there has been so much drama. The number one pickleball player in the world, sorry, Ben, Anna Lee Waters, is ripe for contract. Where, I left a comment, maybe the U.S. government will look to sign her, right? But the big targets that have been rumored and floated around. We're hearing Yola, we're hearing Nike, and then the biggest one that has traction that I've kind of perceived is Franklin. There's some rumors that Franklin is shifting their lineup potentially with the Johnsons moving and transitioning on. I'm not sure if this is confirmed or not.
The Johnsons are leaving Franklin?
I've read some. These are high level rumors, so take them with the largest grain of salt. But potentially, if the Johnsons were to leave, then that could free up some capital to make a probably 8-figure deal with signing Anna Lee Waters. And so Franklin is heavily in the mix. Yola has the money, but the biggest question really is, would Nike make a play for Anna Lee Waters? And would they, because they have the money, but the thing is they don't spend money in, like, they haven't historically failed getting into golf clubs with Tiger Woods, right? And so they had the person. They've stayed away from getting into specific products, and they stayed apparel. But do they make the jump? Do they choose to invest in Annalie Waters, shake the pickleball world?
Why is there a rumor for Nike in the first place?
I just think she demands that quality of a brand. And so
did you see any of those comments that like some Nike people were attending events and chatting with her? I saw some sort of substance behind the Nike claims, and aside from it could potentially be an opportunity for a big brand like them to come in. Did you see any of those?
It's a good segue. And so Aaron put on his detective cap, and he went full stalker mode, and he looked at Annalie Waters' followers on Instagram. On X, we looked at Lee Waters' followers on Instagram. And on X, because Lee is probably moving the deals, and we found out that Annalie is signed to a agency called Octagon. They are a major global sports and entertainment agencies. They represent I wrote athletes, entertainers, talent, handle sponsors. So it's more than just a athletic deal. Octagon handles like multimedia, right? And so we have an icon, a Jordan brand.
They do like Steph Curry and stuff.
Yeah, Octagon is big. And so I dove a little deeper and found out that the Annalie's manager through Octagon is a lady named Kelly Wolf, right? And so I went on Kelly Wolf. I was looking LinkedIn. She doesn't have Twitter. On to you. Yeah, so and right, because these are the people, doing deals, right? Kelly speaks for Lee and Anna, and I'm going looking at Kelly Wolf, and I find a podcast on Kelly Wolf. And the picture, this is from 2016. This is old. Okay. The picture of the podcast title, it's a person who's like like their series is interviewing sports agencies and representatives of notable athletes. So they go around to different agencies like Octagon and talk to the people who are, managing these really big athletes. And the picture, the cover art of Kelly on this podcast is Kelly and Francis Tiafoe, who is notably signed with
Nike and a big-time tennis star.
And so Octagon is heavily involved with Nike. I did some more digging, and they represent multiple athletes who are sponsored by Nike. Does that confirm that Annalie's going to Nike? No. But the agency that represents...
opens up the door. Like, there's an opportunity there.
Kelly Wolf has associated with Francis Tiafoe. Tiafoe, actually, who's signed with Lulu now in 2025, but long historic Nike convert. And so the threads are there. And so your rumors with Nike being at some of these events, her manager having deep history with the brand, the biggest question is, do they want to get involved? Because the threads and the common threads are there. So the conversations, so they have relationships. But would they make the claim? I'm not sure.
It seems unlikely that they would be able to, I don't know, do a paddle deal. It feels strange with Nike, right? Like the clothing side. And maybe she does two deals. Maybe she does like a Nike clothing deal plus a paddle deal. It's possible that we get a Franklin and Nike or something.
For sure. You keep saying Nike. People are going to come at you for not saying Nike.
Nike's the appropriate term.
You can stick by that, but I guarantee there'll be pitchforkers who want you to say Nike. So keep calling it Nike, and maybe see what happens. But yeah, there's rumors that her deal with what is it, Fila? Is that how you pronounce it?
Fila. That
Fila is ending, and so you're right. She could sign one with a paddle brand and do a clothing line with Nike. I definitely see that. There's also been some rumors that if she signs with Nike, they slowly develop a paddle. They let her play with whatever she wants for a while, and then maybe Q1, Q2, Q3.
Federico statue style.
Yeah, but you have to believe Nike won't do that. They might, but that similar style where they sign them. But, that's why I think that's what keeps Adidas out. There's rumors, but then, Adidas, I think, gets muddy with them contracting Adidas out and then having the failed Fed experiment. And so right now, if you were to ask me, I do think Franklin is in first. I don't think Annalie would go to Yola because Ben is the face of Yola. I think she wants to be the face of a brand. Franklin, I think, has some really awesome signings with, really leaning into Patrican and the next generation. Mm-hmm. And so both Annalie and Hayden are under 20. And so you have your male dominant face, but Annalie comes in larger than Big H. And so she could be the face of Franklin. Franklin is back with, with paddles with the C45. And also I saw, they just got a new paddle approved on UPAA. I didn't pull the model. Franklin did. And if you look at the shape, it's the same. It's a wide body shape.
It's the same.
It's one paddle.
Current paddle.
It's the same. So it's not a series. It's one paddle approved, and it's the same shape as the
ALWC. The breadcrumbs are there.
So there's breadcrumbs. That's the kind of thing, you talk yourself into Nike, you're going into agencies and Octagon and Wolf. You talk yourself into Franklin. You say, well, maybe the Johnsons transition, free up some capital. They give their whole life savings to Anna Lee. And then now there's a paddle on the UPA list that's the same shape. But man, I just hope it's not. I hope it's not Yola. I hope it's not Yola. Too many pros.
Yeah. You got to think that they would obviously love to have her, because then you have the Colin Johns, Ben Johns thing where you have like Yola on every podium. They would have
right.
Anna Lee and Ben having Yola.
But they have Anna Bray
flashing everywhere.
Does Anna Lee really want to step in front of Anna Bray?
Whammy. It'd be a double whammy. Yeah,
but it's not good for Bright. It's not good for Anna Lee. Like, while they're partners, I don't think they want the same brand representation. I think they want their own. There's also been rumors that Anna Lee could start her own paddle company. She's got the capital. She's got the connections.
Everybody could possibly do that. That's on tour.
That wouldn't shock me.
That's actually an interesting point, because James goes and does that. He starts his own brand. He has a lot of success. I wonder if other players are thinking, oh, can I do this too?
So that's it with Anna Lee. We'll see. People say that she could float for a little bit, not sign a deal. A deal could be imminent. And if not, the Masters are happening here soon. So what will she play with at the Masters? Most likely the ALW. I think she'll stick with her Paddletek if a deal is not announced. If a paddle is not announced, she'll probably stick with the Paddletek, keep playing with what is familiar. But at the Masters, I think we'll have some sort of soft update, whether there's been an announcement or potentially she is looking to play the long game, flirt with a lot of brands, have some big conversations, and then potentially keep playing the Paddletek as 2026 unveils. Dude,
well, great reporting. That's interesting. There's some stuff in there I'd never heard before. This is going to be really fun to follow. Unlikely a bigger deal is going to happen in the foreseeable future. This one's it. And wherever she goes, it's going to change that company. She's the real deal, and
it's a big deal.
It'll be a big deal. It'll be interesting to see her with a different paddle.
Yes, thank God. Get her off a Paddletek.
Put a Gen 3 in her hands. Put something.
Put a full foam.
Put a full foam in her hands. Like let's see something that's not a Paddletek and see if that affects her game at all. That alone, I think, would be really fun.
Okay, a few more notable pros are shifting around. I'm going to see if I can hop through these really quick, because I know Aaron and now it's kind of getting extended. QD is leaving Sypic after 8 months. I don't know what kind of a deal is 8 months. We're not doing 9 or 12 or 6. Like an 8-month deal. That was so random.
He doesn't. I think they just. I got the impression you cut it off. Like we're gonna be done. I don't know if it's the end of a 8-month contract or more. It's more of, okay, we're stepping away. We're gonna do something else now.
But that paddle was good too. Like that Avatar was a good paddle, and so it's not like he was even.
I never hit it. I don't know.
I never hit it either, but I've only from the rumor mill of my synthesized information. It was a pretty good Gen 3. So there's rumors he might sign with Wika, which is a pretty big international brand. There's also some rumors that QD might be back in the PPA. Have you heard these?
I have heard these, and I did ask PPA if it's possible for a player who's been, whatever that word is, banned or suspended, or not suspended, but terminated, if they can come back. And they said yes, they can come back. Terms can be renegotiated. So it is possible for QD to come back on tour, or any of these players who have been banned recently. Yeah,
rumor is he's back in his hometown of Vegas. Connor Pardo is liking some of these drilling sessions. And so we'll see if QD comes back in 2026. I hope so. I think it's good for Pickleball. I think it's good for QD. He provides some spice and drama. I'd like to see him back on the tour. And I'm sure the UPA would love to negotiate a smaller contract that they could sign pros back to. So we'll see if he jumps to Wika or not. But rumors there. Another rumor is Andre Daescu potentially leaving Proton. Have you heard this one?
No, I haven't. Tell me about it.
So there's some rumors that he might be leaving Proton. And some of the big names on Daescu, I heard a rumor that Li Ning might sign Daescu. I don't know if you know who this Li Ning.
No.
So Li Ning is, think the Chinese Nike. These are a massive athletic wear business. So they have the capital. They're looking to potentially get into pickleball. So I heard some connections between, because Daescu he's top 5. He's going to demand a big contract. And so it'll be interesting to see where Daescu goes, but I've heard rumors of Li Ning, this really the China's largest sportswear brand. They make a lot of shoes and athletic wear, potentially getting into pickleball. The reason I say that is because in December they have 2 new Li Ning hyper power paddles that have been approved by the UPA. So they're clearly making a play to join the PPA by joining USAP. These are fresh January 1st approvals, right? So these are new paddles. So they're going to be signing some pros. I've heard some rumors of them going after a whale and getting Diascu.
Yeah, that's just so on brand for Diascu, right? Like he always signs with these unknown random brands. Proton's gotten to when he signed with Proton, they were just this big colorful paddle that no one had heard of, and it made sense for him to join them. And here he goes again. Proton got too big for him. He's got to go for some new unknown brand. So that's. But
even if it's not Diascu, Li-Ning is moving into pickleball with these new paddles that are approved. There's a 14 and a 16. They're called the Hyperpower HP90S, HP90X. So we'll see those paddles potentially come out soon. Next one is Tardio is leaving Pickle, and it's more or less confirmed that he is going to Facolos. Facolos, Facolos. It's a Vietnamese brand. They're the official partner of the PPA Asia Tour. So it's a really notable pickleball brand in Vietnam, obviously, who has a large demanding network. But I checked Tardio's follower list. Facolos, right there. And they have they're right there. It's the only one he's following. I went to Facolos's page, and then I'm following obviously every PPA pro, and Tardio is the only one following. So that says it for me. And they have a new paddle that was approved December 1st in the UPA, the Facolos Nex, NEXX, which is a 16 millimeter, and it's elongated. So they're uniquely positioned to go for Tardio. I think it's a great signing.
You think, it's great, big for them, but it's these like different brands are getting in, these international, these Asian brands. These, It's not Yola. Like Yola, had to make a big bid for Tardio to get that dual Yola podium things. And so it'll see what happens with that one. That's interesting. Tardio, I don't see a lot of pickle paddles. And I think it's not because of him so much, but just because that's, a soft Gen 2.
Gen 2, yeah.
And it wasn't keeping up with the market. You put a modern paddle in his hands, I think you see that all over the place. So that could be a big move for them.
And the last one we have on here is Eric Onson's moving from Yola to Engage, which is, hey, go Engage. I think that's a good signing for them. And they have some really good paddles to back it up. And so it's, I think that's great. I also heard one last rumor of Rohrenbacher leaving Selkirk. I don't know if that's confirmed. I literally read that like 10 minutes before we started recording here. So take that one with a grain of salt. But there is high level, so much shakeups with pros moving here. And what I'm excited about is one, where Annalee goes, and two, we got two international pickleball companies who are heavily involved in their local communities, one in Vietnam, one in China, getting involved in American pickleball, right? There's been Yola going out and really expanding the brand, but these are large brands coming in with money. And so I think international competition is great. I think it's going to change the landscape. Some of these paddles, and I think some of these pros, they're going for these big buck international contracts. Can you blame them?
Yeah, no, you can't.
All right, that's it for Aaron and Out. That's a ton of news. Thank you for listening to all of that.
Ton of news. Yeah, that was great. That was really fun stuff. All right, let's go to Paddle, Babble, and Gear. These are the paddles I've been playing all December. We're getting you all the paddles now. Previously, with paddles, I was getting you the ones that we were just going to do review of because you shoot all that awesome B-roll. But now we're going to start getting you just everything that comes through the door so that we can discuss paddles here. On the docket today, we have the Volair shifts, which have been getting a lot of attention. Yep. And, kind of some mixed thoughts there between, different people. So we'll share ours. Then we're going to talk performance of the Spartus P1 that we were talking about previously with the grit. GRUVN's got a paddle that I'm really digging. Duo wide body came out, and then you got the coral recently that you've been liking, and we can talk about there. I did have a note to talk Blue Maca non-slip insoles. I think we'll push that to the next episode, and we'll just do paddles today, starting with the shifts. Let me grab them here.
Also, if you just watch the intro and you click the timestamp and you've been watching the podcast for 30 seconds because you skipped 50 minutes into Paddle Babble, welcome to the podcast. Because we know you're doing
podcast. It's worth going back to the previous two sections because they're really interesting and fun topics. The news everything is very paddle and related and everything. I think you guys will find it interesting. So for Volair shifts, I'm just going to share numbers, a little bit on tech, then we'll do impressions. So these are 14 millimeter paddles. They're launching in all three shapes. These are full foam. This is Volair's entry into the foam market. The elongated, these are just my units. Of course, this is going to vary some here and there, but For my units, my elongated was 122 swing weight, 6.23 twist weight, power percentile of 96. This thing ripped.
Oh, wow.
Pop of 89 percentile, hybrid 117 swing weight, 6.6 twist weight, power 86 percentile, pop 82. Wide body, I had 108 swing weight, 7.3 twist, power at 88%, and then pop at 84%. So the numbers here are on the heavier side, particularly for the hybrid and elongated. The wide body numbers are actually really solid. Like 108 swing weight is and 7.3 is extremely solid, whether it's 14, 16 millimeter. Doesn't matter. Those are really good. The hybrid at 117 is pretty heavy. And then the elongated at 122 is pretty heavy. The twist weights, at least on the hybrid, at least the twist weight's a good number, but I don't feel like these twist weights accurately represent these sweet spots.
Mm-mm.
And so when you look at these numbers, you hear a lot of people say, oh man, these are good numbers for a 14. They have good sweet spots for a 14, which is true, but it's not like these paddles are only competing against 14s. They're also competing against 16s. And so when I share my impressions, it's through the lens of this is a market that is dominated by 60 millimeter paddles with fantastic sweet spots. And that's what you have to compete against. Even if the numbers look really solid, it doesn't always represent the performance there. But those are the numbers. Twist weights are solid, generally a little heavier here on the swing weights with the wide body having really solid numbers. Technology wise, they sent these samples, which I love it when they do this because it makes it so easy to show what's going on under the hood. So this is a full foam 14. The core has these two panels that have these channels cut out that are then pressed together with glue, and then then it's only internal, and then they have flat foam surface here to adhere the facing sheets to, and then it has an EVA lighter foam layer going around the perimeter. But they did a cool thing here with the EVA where it's like thicker in some spots and thinner near the tip to try to adjust the sweet spot location and how the ball is affected in different areas of the paddle, which I thought was really clever. But my general impressions here, you share yours. We've talked a little bit about these, but we don't know our full impressions, and so we can kind of debate and see what we think. But these to me play like an upgraded carbon paddle, like a upgraded carbon Genesis or a Waves, where more of an upgraded Waves, where like you're getting this high power. When you hit the sweet spot, when you find the center of this, you can definitely find some good power and pop, but it is very sweet spot dependent or sweet spot focused, similar to the carbons, where in order to get the action, to get that power and that pop that you want from it, and that these numbers are showing, it's got to be right there, particularly with the hybrid and the elongated. And so like out of the box, the sweet spots I think are really strong vertically. I think they did a good job there. Like on a carbon paddle, it's not very lively in the throat and up here. That's not the case with these. It has a strong vertical sweet spot. And so if that's where you hit the ball the most, like this is going to support you there and be fine. But you do feel some twisting. It's not as strong side to side as your typical 16 millimeter, especially when you're comparing this against like elite power paddles like the boomsticks and the locos that are also powerful, poppy, and forgiving, which is just kind of this combination that we've come to expect from paddles now. And these, while the sweet spots are playable and fine and good for a 14, they're not as good as 16 millimeters. They're not as good as these elites, and you do feel some twisting there, and you do give up some performance when you're around these edges. Partly because it's a little twistier, but more so I think because of the design of those channels makes it more sweet spot focused, and you can get some really good action. You get that little extra dip, a little extra dwell. You get a little more shape and performance out of the center of this paddle than you do, say a loco or something. I do think you get more action there, but it is more sweet spot, dependent to me. And so when you're finding the sweet spot consistently, these things are fantastic. It's like that true foam where like it's giving you more, it's doing more for you when you find the sweet spot, but it's not as it's not as forgiving as I was hoping, or as these these numbers would suggest was my take here. And so with them being heavier out of the box, you want that sweet spot to be good, right? Because it makes it tricky to tinker, because like you tinker, you add weight, and you can get this, they actually respond well to weight. So like this hybrid, I threw a 12 gram cap coin on here, and I have just a couple grams on the side. And that does help with the sweet spot, but it is just generally heavier. You give up some maneuverability. But if you're willing to give up some maneuverability, these things are fantastic. I think you can really shape the ball and hit some really good stuff. But you do give up some maneuverability, I think is kind of the general case here. But which is kind of counterintuitive with these being 14. You think, oh man, 14, usually you gain maneuverability. Like that's the advantage potentially of a 14. But that's kind of my crux of these is they're sweet spot focused. They're beautiful. They're gorgeous there. Nice vertical sweet spot, but you do give up some of the side to side. You need to customize that to beef it up a little bit. And but then you give up the maneuverability. Kind of the same challenges that we've seen with 6-0 in the Opal as well, right? Like to get that sweet spot in like a really good place where it's over the to get that oversized sweet spot that we've kind of come to expect from the these modern paddles. And so that's my thought there, with the wide body being the exception. Because of the natural shape of the wide body, you do get a little more margin here from side to side, though it's still not quite the same as others, but you do get away with it more. And I don't think that side to side forgiveness causes as many, or comes into play as much as the elongated and the hybrid. And I think if you're coming from the a carbon, this like the True Foam 2, which is still a popular paddle, like go to this. Like you're gonna love this. It's gonna feel very natural. Even has kind of a similar feel to me as True Foams, where it's like denser but still kind of stiffy. It's I like it. It's a good feel. I think that's connected, but it's not that stiff, hollower feel that we're seeing from the floating foams. It's different.
No, definitely not.
But that's my take, man. What do you think of that? Did you experience the same? Do you see it differently?
Yeah, I think you said a lot of things that are really, really great. And so I think I'll kind of maybe hit some of the areas I think you missed and some of the accents. I think first off, to me, this is one of the best looking paddles I've ever seen.
Oh, 100%.
I get that. I think I totally know it's subjective. I put a pink overgrip on here, so try to ignore that. But they got a two-tone, we got some weight on this one. They're doing two-tone colors, the shifts. And as a graphic designer, with light videography, so they're doing the green, blue here, but then on the other side, it mirrors. So green, blue, and then it's horizontally split on the other side.
Yeah, it's really slick, isn't it?
The design is gorgeous. I think they look so good. I love that they did the core design on the graphics as well. And so they're kind of like doing an external x-ray of showing you what's on the inside. But first off, visually, especially this red and like gray, this Dylan Frazier signature, when I got this in the mail, I was so excited to hit it. I just thought it was so great looking. But then I took it to the court and I hit it. And to me, it was advertised. That sounds dramatic. It was advertised as a Dwelly power paddle, a older, upgraded, stronger brother to the Volair Mach 2 Forza. And so, as a Dwelly foam power paddle, I was like, well, I'll bring my Charm. That's one of the most Dwelliest foam all foam paddles I have. And I hit it side by side to the Charm, and this thing did not feel like it had any dwell compared to the Charm. And it was also advertised as, kind of the difference. You have the V-Soles Pro, V-Sole Power, and then the Quantas, right? So one's pre-tuned, a little bit heavier, ready to go. One is a Tinkerer's Dream. These were advertised as ready to go out of the box. If you're going to sell a 117, 118 swing weight hybrid, the thing needs to be ready to go because it's just not going to have a lot of room to tinker, right? Again, if you can handle swing weight, you're probably buying elongated. Let's be honest. You're not going to buy a hybrid. And so if you're getting a 118 hybrid that plays like a 14 more than a 16, it's just a difficult sell, let alone them saying it was dwelly. I really didn't get a lot of dwell in comparison to the Charm. So my first two plays with this, I played the hybrid and the elongated. I wasn't connecting with it. I didn't feel like I could turn my brain off. I was thinking more about the paddle. I was feeling the misses of the sweet spot. I wouldn't say the sweet spot was bad, but we're used to really good sweet spots. That's kind of the standard now. Some of these, Loco, the V-Sole Pro, the Boomstick, they have like overly sized sweet spots. And so if those are exceptions, then it changes the market because that kind of is what normal. We expect a large sweet spot. So it was a little bit more difficult to go back to a 14 that really felt like it had a small sweet spot. I was really nervous to add weight to this paddle because of the stock metrics, it being 117. Mine felt heavy. I don't have the equipment to measure, but it felt heavy, especially comparing it to the Spartus P1. But when I added about 5 or 6 grams.
A light paddle, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. And the coral. I don't know the Spartus P1's number, so that's interesting to say. My impression, it felt lighter than this hybrid. But I had about 5 or 6 grams of half gram per inch on the side. And I was like, you know what? If this thing turns into a tank, I'm not worried about it. I just want to see if
it's already a tank. It's already a tank, right? So
I didn't anticipate it changing as much. And it fixed a lot of things for me. I really didn't feel like I was thinking about the paddle as much. The biggest thing at that point is it just felt really stiff and dense. I didn't feel a lot of dwell. I've heard some rumors that you need to put 5 to 10 hours on it, let it open up a little bit, kind of loosen it up. But for me, I really wouldn't play this paddle stock. I think maybe with the wide body, you could get away with it. But it really did fix a lot of the problems, adding 5 or 6 grams. And so again, you could probably add a cap coin if you wanted to fix some of the hand speed. But if you're going to go for that hybrid or elongated, anticipate that it's going to be heavier. Be okay with that. But I would still weight it up because to me, it did fix some of those problems that I was really experiencing stock. And so stiff, dense, very true foam reminiscent. I love, you said it's like an upgraded Waves. I think that's well said. But there's a lot of hollow foam paddles out between the Quanta, Loco, Visual Power, Boomstick. It's very enjoyable to not have a stiffer, more dense foam paddle again. It did remind me of some of those. I didn't know it's good to hear those power percentages numbers as far as like the 96 for the elongated. I didn't know it would hit that hard. That had some sneaky power.
It did. To add some additional thoughts to those power pop numbers, because those are high and higher than I thought. Because I played with them first and then went and hit. Like there were, or I played with them first and then went and ran numbers. There were moments where I got some good power out of it, but it's not immediate like a boomstick, right? Like you kind of have to either have to strike it just right in the center, or you have to give it a little bit extra. You don't get this immediate access to the powers type, playability aspect to it that you get from some of these other full foams, though the power's there when you connect it right and when you have like a little extra force behind it. So it is a bit more dynamic there, though the drop off in power, like if I had a machine and I was, measuring the power output, I'm sure it's a more steep drop off from that center, to like 2 inches to the left or right versus like a Loco or something. But yeah, when you connect with it just right, it rewards you. It definitely rewards clean mechanics, people who have good strokes, people who know how to wield a paddle. I think those higher level, smoother strokes type people will benefit from this style of paddle that's more sweet spot focused than, maybe the everyday rec style player. But I do love seeing brands do something different, coming out with different designs and fun. It's really fun to me. And sometimes you're gonna knock out of the home run, knock a home run, and sometimes you don't. To me, these aren't a home run. While they're still, there's some good things about them. It's tough to say, oh man, this is clearly better than what's out there. Though I do think there is a place for it for certain styles who have those really clean mechanics who can take advantage of that more sweet spot focused design.
Quick question, thinking of the consumer, how does the Shift hybrid compare, or you could do any Shift, to the VSOL Power? Because that one's a little bit more dense and muted as well.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. That's kind of a similar ballpark where the power is actually, the VSOL Power's power output is not too far underneath the Volairs. Like you're going to get a similar feeling and performance there. Those are more muted, and I think the feeling and connection to the paddle is better with the Volairs over the Powers. The Powers are pretty muted and not dead feeling, but more that direction than the Volairs, where the Volairs still kind of have a little magic there where it's on the like softer, denser side, but still connected a little livelier than the Powers. Sweet spots are actually probably, maybe just a hair in favor of the VSOL Powers, because those VSOL Powers for a 16 millimeter aren't as good as
it should be better
the full foam, but they are lighter and more customizable. You could probably get those to a good place, weight wise, and so you do have the maneuverability advantage and better stock performance, I think, with the Powers, and of course the price difference. We didn't mention price. They're actually coming down to $180 to start with
great.
these. After
good.
code, it's about like 165, which is a great price to be at. I think it's really smart on their part to come in at that price point where it's like you don't feel like you're overpaying, but it's still I guess a more premium, kind of pricing range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The last thing I'll say is this made me want to hit the 16. I thought all of my feelings were, if they make a 16 of this paddle, it might fix a lot. And it might be the one that I really prefer. And they said they were working on one, but no timeline. And the biggest problem was working to get weight down, which obviously a 16 would add more of.
Yeah, that was the challenge with this, because with these being glued together this way and then having the face sheets glued again, that adhesive in the center is what's adding a lot of weight, because you have to add the adhesive here, and plus you have to add, they usually put like a little sheet. I actually don't know if this is in there, but typically they'll add like a little sheet or something here so that the glue doesn't fall into the holes. So that's another layer of weight. And so that's likely why they went 14, right? It's just for the weight, and they are still heavier as of 14. And so, yeah, that a lot of good things about them. I think them being 14s is what keeps them from being like a premium option. Though the wide body, I want to put more time on. I think that one it could be a mainstay and an easy, a better, or I guess an easier recommendation or more possibility. Though, some people are raving about the liking the elongated and stuff. But yeah, that's thoughts there. Let's move on to the Spartus. Okay, so we talked about the grit. The grit on here is fantastic. It feels gritty. It stays gritty. And it spins and shapes the ball well. It is a floating foam core, and it plays like a floating foam core to me. This thing falls right in line with the Vatic Pro V soles, the Loco, like that range. It falls within that bucket. It's not quite as hollow. Like if you had, I love John's Q's scale that he's been doing. I think we should borrow that from him, because I think it's an easy way to visualize, describing the feel. But typically you have like 4 categories or 4 quadrants, right? So on the plush crisp scale, this is crisper, but then on the dense hollow area, this is like a mid dense. Like it's not super dense, it's not super hollow, it's in that middle somewhere. So it's actually a pretty good spot feel wise. I liked it. But it is more head heavy than your typical design for a hybrid. So my unit came in at 115, but on their website it says that these will go from 116 to 119 swing weight. So apparently I got a lighter one, and these are available for pre-order now. These retail for $220 before code, and they start shipping January 12th through 23rd. For me, I just threw on a 12-gram cap coin, and that just solved the head heavy thing for me, because the twist weight 6.7, the forgiveness felt solid to me. I didn't really feel like I needed to boost the twist weight or anything of it. It wasn't necessary. It was there. I just needed to bring that balance point down. And as soon as I threw that 12-gram cap coin on there, it changed it for me, and I started liking it a lot more, because it did feel head heavy to me. Even it being 115, I would have guessed it was heavier. Accelerating through flicks was a bit tougher, and it just kind of felt sluggish. And I wonder if it's because the grit, maybe the grit's heavier. I wonder if that's what's weighing it down. Sure. Like, is that the only difference between this and other full foams with it?
I mean, if you have a stock 6.7 hybrid, you got to have some internal weighting or something to get it that high, right? It's not like the only ones that have 6.7 stock hybrids are Honolulu's because of the shape. This one is this not more or less a mirror of the 6.0 hybrid shape? Maybe a slightly longer handle.
Yeah, it's definitely. It might actually. Yeah, I don't know. I have to measure it. I'm not sure if it's tapering or not, but it certainly looks like the 6.0 hybrid style. But no, like I think there's a big appeal to that paddle with its grit durability plus the performance. You throw a cap coin on there, and it's it definitely has some attraction to it over some these other options. Even the feel with its feel being a little bit different. I think they did a good job with this, and it definitely is kind of sitting on its own, particularly now with the grit durability. There's going to be others that follow that can hang and compete here, but as of now, this is the best hybrid grit durability paddle you're going to find that has that full foam design. And there wasn't necessarily anything that stands out performance wise with like its power and pop output. But the fact that it's there and it's hanging with the others, but then you throw in the grit makes it a really attractive option.
Yep.
It'll be about $200 after code. Have
Yep.
you put any time on it yet?
Yeah, I played a few games. I played one game and won, so I played it the rest of the night. You ever have experiences like that when you're testing paddles? You're like, okay, we're winning, we're riding. The things that stood out to me is it played great stock. It didn't feel like it needed weight. I think if you wanted to add weight, you could maybe up the power, but I didn't feel like sweet spot or anything was lacking. Like you get a paddle, you play one game with it, and you're like, I think I'd like to throw a little bit of weight just so it plays a little better.
Yeah.
I thought shot shaping was really great. I had some really, really good dipping drives. I felt like I trusted the grit and grab of the paddle. It wasn't collecting ball dust. It felt really durable. Sometimes when you believe a paddle can grab the ball better, you trust your swing to get like really dippy shots. So my biggest thing with this was ball shaping. I thought was really, really good, and I'm very excited about it. The other thing I liked was it did feel a little denser. There's a lot of floating core, EPP, EVA, and they're all hollow. And I really just, for me personally, again, this is subjective, I'm not attracted to that hollow feel of the boomstick, of the Quanta, of the VSOL Pro, of the Loco. I thought this was even denser than the Loco. And the Loco was the denser floating EPP, right? We would say the boomstick is the most hollow. And if you want a little bit of a denser feel with a similar power category, go Loco. I think this is even denser, and I like that about it. So for me, it slots in a really good spot. I want to put more time. When I played with this paddle, I enjoyed the pickleball I was playing. And I think there's kind of two directions when you pick up a pickleball paddle. You'll be like, I want to play more games with this, or I want to put this down, but I need to test it more. And for me, it was definitely the first category of I want to play more games with this. I really enjoyed it.
Nice. Yeah, that one's a good one. That's the review we're going to do next. I'm going to start putting heavy hours on that one. But yeah, really solid first impression, and the grit is the real deal, I think. Next, we have two paddles from GRUVN. Snatch these. These are both full foam paddles. So you remember when GRUVN launched those like early foams that we were getting kind of excited about?
The laser 16 HDs?
And then they ended up being like on that threshold of the PB core. And so the original ones they launched are going to be sunsetted with what was that, May or March, somewhere in there. And then they went back to the drawing board, reconfigured it a little bit, and came out with these two. And these ones are both fully certified. They don't hit that limit or anything, and they're doing that deal, right? Like if you bought that early model, you get a good deal on one of these, so you can take advantage of that if you want to. But they're also a pretty good price, as is if you didn't buy their older original models. So these both retail for $169 before code, and they're both available now. So the Laser 16X, this red one here, is the floating full foam core. And then the move-in is like a triple density. It's like 3 layers of foam here, like a sandwich style kind of thing. And the this move-in one here with the 3-layer sandwich is it's a control paddle. It feels very dense, very muted, a bit too muted for me. It was where you kind of lost some of the connection to the ball a little bit. You weren't sure where it was going because it dampened it a bit too much. And it was my thought. So I didn't connect with this one quickly, and I played those first few games, set it down, and I haven't picked it up since. I need to give it another shot, see if it's the same experience. But that was my first impression there. However, the laser model was quite the opposite. Like I have been really digging this one. This one's actually been kind of the surprise of December for me. I have, as you play, you just kind of gravitate to some. Like when
Absolutely.
I'll probably play 1 or 2 sessions a month where I'm not going to test the paddle, or I'm just going to play. And during December, when that happened, this was the paddle I grabbed, and it falls into a very similar feel as the Spartus. I was hitting these side by side today to confirm before the pod, but that very similar quadrant where it's crispy, it's lively, but not overly hollow. It's in that kind of middle ground there. It's not super dense, it's not super hollow. So it has this really nice, pleasant, crisp, connected feel to it that I prefer over the hollow sensation. And then it's at that power level. It's at a power level that I think is really attractive, particularly for my game, where it's that lower power level. My numbers for it came in at a power level of 83% and a pop of 70%. And so it's enough to be dangerous. It's enough to be satisfying, but it's at that level where you're going to play good ball with it. Like you can reset a ball, you can dink it, you're not just randomly launching stuff. You're not you can find angles, you can be creative with it. And so I was finding that with this paddle. I played really good pickle with it. I've really been enjoying it. It's only available as an elongated for now. This one is 118 swing weight and 6.34 twist. And so the numbers are pretty good there, about average. Nothing that like particularly stands out, but it's what you want to see. And it's one of those kind of intangibles, like for me, like I think is more so that it just fell into that really nice power level that works for me. And so I was playing good ball with it, but that combination of the power level and a little different field profile that was similar to the P1 was working. And I think it's a good option. They just sent me the hybrid. I think they sent you the hybrid as well. Have you put in? I think we just got those. You probably haven't put any time.
I haven't hit it yet.
But curious to see what your thoughts are on this one, because this is a good one that's probably going to go under the radar for a lot of people.
Tournament tomorrow. You picking that one or Spartus P1, and why?
Tournament. I'm this one. I think the power level is just a little toned down over the P1. It's a little less poppy, and so its weight balance worked better for me than I preferred over the P1. But if I'm an everyday player and I'm buying a paddle, it's going to last me a long time. I don't want to buy one every year. I'm not like on the hunt for the latest and greatest. I might go P1.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm an enthusiast and I'm buying paddles all the time and I can have, pick of the litter and I own both these paddles, I'm going to pick up the GRUVN and go hit it. I'm excited to play the hybrid and see how it does. Cause that's, hybrids and hybrids are my personal, shape preference, but, I was really digging this one. This one was a surprise. And, anyways, that's GRUVN. It's kind of funny. Like, it's not that it's, technology, it's not like unique technology wise. It's just kind of following the flow here of what's popular, but their little iteration. I don't know. Maybe it's the Kevlar that tones it down a little bit.
Dude, Kevlar's back. It's back. Braden said it.
However they did it, I don't know. Maybe they have a different, adhesive that they use or something, but it doesn't feel quite as hollow. I think it's easy to connect with, and it's at that power level that I think more people should play in if they want to play good pickleball.
Well, a quick little riff off that. I like that Kevlar material. I believe what I saw was a 3K carbon Kevlar weave, where it's the mesh, right? I don't think it's full Kevlar. If you're seeing two different colors, I believe it's that carbon colors. Kevlar weave, which I've had on a few paddles. They also put that on the GX2. I do think that softens up the feel on ball contact a little bit.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
I wish more companies, one, would use that triaxial weave that we saw in the Shapeshifter. Bring that back. I'll keep shouting that every episode. And two, I really love that 3K weave, whether it's full Kevlar or carbon Kevlar. I think that softens up ball contact a tiny bit. And as long as, again, I don't know about peel ply, if you're not reducing spin or anything, I would love to see a more durable peel spin texture on some other Kevlar facing materials. Maybe bring back titanium to see kind of how it shifts a little bit. But in the era of minute preferential differences, take all of that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But that's cool.
Yeah. We'll see more iterations like that as the year goes on, right? Like we obviously that tech is here. We're going to see that pop up all over the place. And there's always going to be little subtle differences. Some are going to hit, some are going to be the same. Some are not going to be any different. But this was just one of those little small tweaks, small iterations where I thought it just kind of refined on what's available into an area that isn't, it's kind of a new spot, right? Like same with the P1 there. But anyways, more to come there. I had the Duo wide body in here. I think we can move that to next week. We're also going to move Blue Maka's non-slip insoles next week, which I've been a fan of. But let's talk Coral real quick. So. Obviously, everyone knows my thoughts here on the Coral, but you've been texting me about the Coral. You've been digging it. Tell me about the Coral.
So when I go out, I'll bring 2 or 3 paddles, right? And I'll hit them side by side, and at least for me, I'll always have a favorite for the night. And like it's almost like you just don't know why or what, but the thing just works. And I brought it, poor shift. I brought it on the same night as the shift. I had never hit either of them. I got the coral really late. So I didn't get to like get the initial wave of hype. I hit the coral right next to the shift hybrid stock. And I was playing with a group of 8 people, and I let everyone hit it. And everyone, and again, these are some wide body players, these are some elongated players, probably like a 4 or 5-ish group. Everyone literally was unanimous. Everyone preferred the coral. And so that's just not my bot shill opinion. I just think for me, I just instantly connected. The best part of pickleball is when you can turn your brain off. You feel like the paddle and you have been like going out for months, and it's just like, oh wow, it's like an old friend you didn't know you had. Things I loved about it was I've always thought 6-0 had a great hybrid shape. I think the design is wonderful, but that's nothing to do with play characteristics. I think it has just like a really good middle ground of feel. It's a little bit lower with that floating EVA ring on like a little bassier, but not boomstick bassier, some of the Inferno bass. I think the feel was really good. A lot of the vibrations that came through were really like welcomed. I thought the sweet spot was great. But the ball contact, it felt a tiny bit dwelly, but then also like stiff enough to where I could feel like I was mishitting.
Yeah. There's something magical about the feel of the coral. It's its own. And it just works.
Yeah, the Opal had a unique feel that I wish they could fix. This has a unique feel too that I just really don't. One, it's hard to describe. But I said in our paddle awards that the J2NF-T, the titanium, was my all court paddle of the year, and it has absolutely been replaced with this one. Again, I think paddle shot thoughts can change quickly, but we'll be playing 5-0 PPA Mesa in Arizona here in February. And this is the paddle I will be playing.
Yeah, I may be playing with that one too. My calibration paddle recently has been the coral. I'll play my first game with the coral, find my groove, get a sense of what it's given me, and then I'll compare the other paddles to it. And it's just, oh man, like, to your point, man, like it feels so nice. It's magical. It's easy to connect with. You go play. I do think the GRUVN gives you a little bit more than the coral, but it's kind of that same ballpark.
This is high 60s, low 70s, or just like mid 70s percentage on pop and power.
Yeah, so the GRUVN's just like a step above that.
Nice.
I guess if you call that an aggressive all court, you could call this a low power paddle.
Yeah.
But like those two paddles recently have been like my calibration paddles, and yeah, dude, just been digging them. The coral I still think deserves more attention. Like it's gotten some attention, but it hasn't been the same as like the Opal. I think when it released, and 6-0 seemed bigger on the Opal than the coral. I'm a fan of the coral. I think you push the coral. I think the coral is the one that's going to fit a lot of people, make a lot of people enjoy the game and enjoy what's in their hands. And you said it, dude. Like it just feels like the paddle that you've always had, and you just go play with it.
2 cons, just to be objective. It's a thicker handle, so if you have small hands, this feels like more like 4.3 of a handle circumference. I know some paddles do like these. This is more like 1.25, right?
Yeah.
Like with the 14 on the shift. And so it's thicker, and then you put an overgrip on, it's even thicker. And so definitely a chunky handle, not the longest handle, a little bit longer than the J2NF's shape. And then 2, I didn't feel like shaping was as great. Again, I know it has the Diamond Tough texture, but to me, this feels like a legal USAP paddle, right? I want the UPA version of this. I want all the diamonds, and I want 10 times the grit. That's my only con. I just feel like I want a little bit more spin with it, a little bit more shape, and I feel like I'm spoiled with the P1 and some of these other new grit textures. Again, Diamond Tough, to me, might have the same failure with Peel Ply, but we'll see. So those are my small cons. But again,
yeah, no, those are
really,
good
really
points.
wonderful.
All right, man. That's gonna finish our first episode together. That was fun. That'll wrap it up for us, though. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and stick around, and we'll see you guys again next week.